Welcome to South Haven Business Beat. This is our special election edition. We talk to the candidates about the issues important to you and your business. We would like to thank the following sponsor, Follow App. The Follow App is the long-term solution for networking, instantly connecting you to those frequently missed opportunities to find the right referral partner or new client to grow your business. And now, here's your host, Robbie Yates.
Hi, welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of South Haven Business Beats. I'm Robbie Yates, and today for we're going to discuss with the upcoming election for the election commissioner with Mr. Tim Snyder, and actually over for District 2. And so, sir, I appreciate your time, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I know before we got started, we're kind of talking offline, and you kind of got appointed into the position about a year ago, and I was just curious of the background that led you into being before the election happened. I know somebody was in the position, and then someone said, "Hey, you kind of got appointed there pre-election." What was that background that led you into to that seat?
The full background?
Well, you need the Cliff Note version. That's fine. Yeah.
Well, actually, the background is, I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a voter. And back when we had the last presidential election and before that, I was just hearing so much noise about on the national level about irregularities in the election process, and I was like concerned. It's like, well, what's happening? How can I make any difference in that? As a citizen. And so I said, well, I can't change anything in some other state, but I can make a difference here in my county. And so I contacted the executive committee for the Republican Party and said, hey, what can I do to help out with the election process? And so they asked me if I would be willing to be a poll watcher, and I was like, well, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
So they explained what it was, and so I was actually a poll watcher for the presidential election, and what we did is we audited or watched the counting of the absentee ballots, and for that year, because of COVID, they did all that counting at the courthouse down in Hernando, which previously it was those absentee ballots were sent out to all the different polling locations, and so I watched that, and it was a great experience, and so I was kind of hooked into just helping out where I can, wherever I can help, and so then that led into the city of South Haven. I got a call, and they said, hey, they need an election commissioner for the city election. Will you help out? I said, well, sure, I'll help out. So now I've helped out with our last South Haven election process, and then we had our next set of elections. I was just helping with the executive committee, just being involved, help where I can, and then in December of last year, just a couple months ago, they called and said, hey, the election commissioner that you helped get elected, she realizes it's too much for her, and she wanted to step down, and they said, would you consider filling that position? And so they asked me in December, and I said, well, let me think about it. And I thought about it. It's like, well, this is my heart.
Yeah.
I want to know we're having fair, accurate, efficient elections. That's my heart. And so I replied back, said, yes, that really fits what I want to do.
Nice, kind of like divine intervention.
Yeah,
it sounds like leading into it. Yeah, absolutely.
So in January of this year, I went to the supervisor meeting, and they elected me into the position.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I know we have the election coming up. So what is something you're looking forward to accomplish over the next 4 years as election commissioner? What's something you look for?
I want to, as a citizen myself, as a voter myself, I want to give assurance to the voters that we're going to have fair, efficient, and accurate elections. That's my heart. My background is an auditor, and so I bring just audit experience into just having that mindset. I want to be objective and fair in everything that we're doing. I want to know that we're having a great election process for DeSoto County, and I want the voters to have that assurance that that's my heart, and I know that's their heart. They want to know they get to vote once, and only once, and
absolutely,
and
that's nice. I like that. Kind of give people a peace of mind.
Yeah. That's what I want to bring. I want the voters to know that that's what I'm bringing for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're taking a second to thank our sponsors. Wisdom Integrators. Are you a business owner and is technology getting in the way of your business? If your computers are slow, your website is horrible, or your business needs more efficiency, then it's time to reach out to Aaron Kozort and Wisdom Integrators. Be sure to share and subscribe for more business resources. Now back to South Haven Business Beat.
And then, so for what are some top 3 issues, or maybe it's one issue that you see that's really imperative for the election process that you see going forward?
You know, last election, November of last year, there was a little bit of underestimating of the turnout, and so there was some issues with long lines and just the poll workers that come and help run those polls. You know, there was just some angst in there, and you know, might be taking somebody 2 hours to vote.
Oh, wow.
And for me, I don't want to see people necessarily having to wait 2 hours to vote. You know?
Yeah.
So I want it to be efficient. That's why I say efficient. I want to have it structured to the best of ability, estimate the turnout, and have the right equipment there, have the right people there, that we can have an efficient process. That's one of the first things, because, you know, for example, my wife, she has some physical limitations, and she can't stand in line for an hour waiting to vote, and she loves to vote the day of the election.
Yeah.
She can do absentee voting, but she likes to do the day of the election. And I feel that for anybody voting, that, you know, if we can be efficient, I want to be efficient.
Yeah.
And I want it to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, and make sure that we keep our voter rolls clean, you know, so that, you know, when people pass away, we don't want them voting anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and if people move and coming and going, you know, we want to make sure we have the right people in our county voting. So that's part of the commissioner job, is to keep the voter roll accurate.
Yeah.
And then just plan well, execute well.
Yeah, I like that. Sounds like a lot of collaboration from a lot of parts. And it's not you're just the one heart, one mindset, and one beat for everything. Sounds like it's going to take a collaborative effort to make sure all that happens.
Yeah, there's actually 5 commissioners in the county, and so I'm one of 5, and we've been working together. I've been working with them since January, and it's a great team atmosphere. We collaborate, we work together, we make sure we're ordering the right equipment to help continue to improve the voting process. So we have the right tools and equipment in place. Learning how we, in the fairness aspect of it, I'm learning how we, in our county, have a audit process throughout the election, where we know how many ballots we're sending to each location. We have a sheet that the receiving managers fill out and complete that says, we received X amount of ballots. How did we use those ballots throughout the day, and what are we taking back to the Election Commission office?
Yeah.
So we have all that documented, and we audit that.
Yeah.
We go back through it and audit all that. So these are all the little behind the scenes things that I'm learning about being an election commissioner.
Yeah.
All the things that go behind the scenes that people don't really have visibility into. But there's a lot of things that we do to make sure everything goes well.
Absolutely. I love you doing your due diligence to make sure that all that goes as smoothly as possible, and tying in your background as an auditor to audit this to make sure votes are counted accordingly. And you touched on it briefly about how the lines were 2 hours. How would you I know you touched on it briefly, but how would you improve upon that, trying to limit that time?
So we've already done a few things. We really think this election we're going to have more of a presidential turnout. We think there's going to be a significant turnout of voters. So making sure we have enough ballots to handle that. Printed out. I think last election we were running short on ballots, so we had to go down, and we have a special printer at the courthouse where you can print more ballots to take back to your voting locations. One thing is we have these express vote machines that we've been trying to ramp up, and we get grants to add more of these express vote machines, and they're really nice because you get a piece of paper like this, about that size, and it has a code on there that knows who you are, basically, and what ballot you need.
Okay.
You put it in the machine, it'll pull up, and you just dot. So there's no chance of like scratching errors or anything like that. And then it gives it back to you. So now you can see what you voted for.
Okay.
And then you take it over and you put it into the machine that you drop it into for where all the ballots go.
Yeah.
So those machines are really efficient.
Yeah.
And it reduces errors where maybe you checked the wrong box on the ballot or something. It's like, oh no. So that efficiency, but we underestimated how many votes per day can go through a machine.
Yeah.
We thought it was much higher than it was.
Oh, okay.
And so now I did a time study to say, okay, how long does it really take? How many votes can we really process through these machines? And we found out that it's not as many as everybody thought.
Okay.
So now we printed more of the big standard ballots so that we can use both ballots equivalently and efficiently at the same time. So so that's going to make the lines move a lot faster.
Okay. I see the common thread of the efficiency and the due diligence kind of go and coincide with each other. So I love what you're doing. I love the mission you have. Obviously doing some great work because you already were kind of pre-appointed, so which is nice for the district too. Anything else you have for us before we depart?
No, I mean, if they wanted to know a little bit more of my background, that's fine. You know, I went to Delta State University, so locally I've been working for several of the big name companies in the area. Started off in corporate accounting and then moved into audit and been doing audit work for the last over 15 years. So just bringing that experience into election commission office, and it's I love it. I just love doing it. Everything that I'm doing, it's like a...
Excellent. I love that transitions over what you're doing on the auditing side. So all the best to you, sir, and thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
We would like to thank the following sponsor, Pure Focus Media. Have an event coming up? Let us capture all the moments that will create memories that will last a lifetime with our professional photographer and videographer. Also announcing our new digital selfie photo booth. Book with us today. Thank you for listening to this episode of South Haven Business Beat. This podcast is brought to you by the South Haven Chamber of Commerce. We know relationships create commerce. Thank you for joining us. Like what you see and hear? Please tell others and subscribe.